Brian.
Another fun Friday night episode. Brian and Chelsea make a podcast. What we got
Oh,
going on?
yeah. We got a spicy one tonight. We are going to be definitively addressing the question, is love blind? With the, most popular tool to do so, which is the TV show as a tool, but we'll be focused on the question.
Yeah, I think the TV show allows us, it's the vehicle to get us into some other, I think, bigger questions. Whether or not is love blind, which we're going to touch on a few times in different perspectives, different ways. And I think this is going to be interesting. I'm not sure. I kind of hope I'm not the only guy tonight. Like, there's hopefully somebody within the audience that can help me out a little bit because I think I'm going to come off really bad tonight, depending on what we talk about.
That makes me so much more excited for tonight. I had no idea. Now I'm hyped.
And then we've got we got to stay on task though, right?
Yes. So we've been working towards a tight hour for some time now, and we've never accomplished it. So I thought, it'd be fun. Let's do a tight 45 hard stop. So we're going to try.
Good.
Can't wait. And special surprise coming up eventually. I don't know how you want to release that.
Our special guest, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to release it right now, and then I just see in the green room she got up off her chair. So we can't go to her just yet. She is the smart home canner, and our special guest is also the co-host of her own podcast. What's the podcast name again? Perfectly Preserved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like alternative to burial and like when you die, right? It's like mummification of bodies or something. We'll have to see. We're gonna bring her on. She's our good friend Anna.
That took a turn.
What is this podcast?
We get that all the time.
It's the Perfectly Preserved podcast is the one, and we are master food preservers, and we teach people how to preserve food safely. So.
Perfectly Preserved podcast. Nothing to do with mummification or alternative burial methods.
I mean, for food, I guess.
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
But Anna is a huge Love is Blind fan. And we've talked about the last few seasons. Well, we've talked about the show off and on. And this week she's been waiting for me to get caught up, as has Chelsea. And I was like, okay, Anna, can you just come on the show Friday? Because we're talking Love is Blind and we're answering the question, is love blind?
Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining.
I'm obsessed with this show. I don't know. Like, not because I think it's like amazing, like production value or anything. I think just the concept is just super interesting.
How do you
and in the reunion, we saw the production value in the reunion, which Brian doesn't even know. But Anna, I think finally I have someone I can relate to. I was trying to watch it live.
Yes.
That's only the second time that Netflix has tried to do that, right?
And they couldn't release it till the next day at 5 p.m.
I was so mad. I kept like refreshing. I was like, what is going on? Why aren't they releasing this?
I was so upset. I was like, babe, our Netflix is broken. This is ridiculous. He's like, look it up. It's probably an outage. I was like, no.
So compared to the other kind of reality dating shows, and obviously The Bachelor, Bachelorette is the biggest franchise over the last 15, 20 years.
Sure.
Love is Blind, a Netflix show. How does that compare? Like, would you guys consider that your favorite kind of show within that genre or what? Anna, you go first.
I watched The Bachelor and Bachelorette for maybe like 3 seasons. And then I was like, I just felt like everybody was getting on there to be famous. And after a while, it was just like, it's not my jam. But I would say Love is Blind. It's hard to know who is really on there for that and for other reasons, right? So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I recently, after already liking Love is Blind, stumbled into Married at First Sight.
That's
I
really
haven't.
fun.
And I'm starting to like me some Married at First Sight, but Love is Blind just came out with the newest season and I got rehooked and recommitted. It's probably my favorite. I don't tend to watch love
Yeah.
reality shows that much that are like truly just based in a competition for love. So it's my favorite because it's one of the few I watch with now, including Married at First Sight.
I find this show, Love is Blind, it is my favorite in a sense that I do think for the most part, most of the people on here are on there to find somebody. It's a good balance of production and fakery, and also I get kind of attached to the characters, the relationships, and then seeing how they go once they physically meet each other. They have to live with each other. Do they get married? So there's a long running storyline that you're kind of like, well, it's almost like our podcast, Chelsea, to say, are they gonna at the end of 24 episodes, are they gonna get together? Are they gonna continue to do something? So I like it the most out of all of those shows.
Mm-hmm. So I have a proposed agenda for us, or an idea of how we get through this tonight for 45 minutes, because not very long. My thought is at 10 till, I'm going to stop us wherever we are, and it's time to definitively address the question. And up until then, consider it like persuasive arguments that could give us information and detail towards the question. So the question we're asking is love blind. We will not be answering it till the very end. And from now until then, we can use examples in any which direction to argue different sides. And it doesn't mean you believe in whatever side you're arguing. You're just using either examples for the show, from life, from whatever. And they're all going to complement that question. And then at the end, we will each individually answer that question and debate it out. Thoughts?
That's fine. That's good.
That sounds great.
It's a way to tie in specifics of the show, but also maybe address bigger questions. And then I like at the very end, we're on the hot seat to say, is love blind or not? So
anyone have a favorite element from the show to start with? Because I think we should at least start with the show. Is there like a point where you really thought love being blind was debated that's worth kicking off?
Can I put up your graphic just so that we can kind of see who we're talking about? Because it makes it easier for me. I still have a hard time with people's names and faces.
Yeah, and I have a storyline that maybe is worth starting with, which is, I never know if it's Irina or Irina. Irina?
Is it Irina?
Irina.
Irina?
Okay.
We all three of us say it completely.
Irina and Zach. Because with them, love was blind till it wasn't, and that was great. So
that was such a train wreck. Like, you could tell immediately when she saw Zach that she was like, no.
Oh yeah. Which is the best part.
Yeah. And I think what's difficult, and like I've kind of like seen some, I don't know, Instagram stories and videos from people on the show that are saying like, the producers made me like go on the honeymoon to Mexico. That's what Irina said. Right. So even though she wasn't feeling it, they were like, just go, just see. And you can tell in Mexico, it was so uncomfortable.
That's one of my favorite parts of the show, is when we get the reveal and the door slides open, and I am glued. I said this on the Tossing Salad podcast last week with Andre, that I am glued to my screen when they revealed themselves to each other, because I want to see. I think I'm pretty good at reading faces. Yeah. And when she saw him, you knew. And aside from, I think Zach's just kind of weird. And I hate just using weird, because we're all kind of weird, and I'm not making fun of anybody. But the entire season for him, I'm just like, there's something just off. And there's no way he would pull somebody like Irina in real life, or really anybody else. I still don't think that he's a good match with Bliss.
I don't disagree with that. I generally would say, though, I think the whole cast is pretty. Like, the whole cast, men and women, like, they're all attractive people. They don't put anyone unattractive on the cast. Everyone's attractive. If you have very particular tastes in attraction, why are you going on this show? Like, I actually don't find Zach unattractive. Would I like want to run up to him and jump his bones? No, but I'm not going on this show. And so it's like, I think he's a generally attractive dude. And she looks at him and she's like, you look like a cartoon character. Seriously?
Right. Well, and she's just a mean person. Like you could see it in the women's quarters. Like she was terrible.
She's the villain of this season. And so let me ask the two of you, don't you need somebody like that? Whether or not we like her or not, we can like having certain characters on a show. You need an Arena on the show to give us something to talk about. You have to have somebody you hate, right?
Oh, the producers were thrilled. They were like,
Absolutely.
this is the moment. Thank you. Like I'm just guessing they loved her. I'm sure editing played somewhat of a role. I do agree. Andrea in the comments said she's pretty young. I think there was some being young, emotional immaturity, and being naive to not realize how much of an evil character you had made out to be. Like you're laughing at people when they're sobbing because they just broke someone's heart and you're laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
Come on.
But do you think that she's doing that because that's her character in real life? Or do you think she is portraying this TV persona and she's doing exactly what Zach accused her of, is just being on TV?
I think she's a fame like grabber. Like I don't know. I mean, when she came on the live and she was like, I'm really sorry, like I have some growing up to do. I kind of was like, yes, but also like, you shouldn't treat people that way. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just me coming from like a semi well-adjusted 40-year-old. Like I'm not 22. And maybe I was a brat like that when I was 22. I don't remember,
But to come on the reunion and own up to it as much as she did, I'm not defending her. I abhor her as a character. I think she was great for the TV show.
yeah.
But it has to be hard to come on the show somewhat live, and you know that you're like the fan, like all the fans hate you, and you're going to get it left and right from Nick and Vanessa as well as the other couples. So I mean, at least she came and was there, you know.
Yeah.
My true guess, yes, she was probably in some way trying to get famous. I don't think anyone wants to get famous by being the evil character. Like I actually think the takeaway was like, wow, I came off very mean. Like that's probably, you don't want to be that. You don't want to be the villain. Like, it's not the favorite character. I don't think she fully realized how bad her actions were. And when they cut them the way they cut them, they got so much worse. And it was like, oh, you look so terrible right now. So my guess is she truly was in remorse because she was portrayed in a way she didn't want to be portrayed. I don't think she was like, oh, I feel so badly that I hurt your feelings. I think it was more like, wow, I wasn't trying to be made out as a villain in my claim to fame. That was my assumption, which is fair. Like maybe she was laughing because it was awkward or uncomfortable or strange. And then it's like, yeah, but you look really mean.
Do either of you two follow any of these characters on social media at all to kind of follow up with them?
No, I mean, I did a quick Instagram search under the hashtag Love is Blind, and I saw some interviews, but no, I don't follow any of them.
Yeah. I don't want them to hurt my algorithm, but I did individually look at their pages.
I wonder if it really does hurt them. Like for Arena, for being the villain, does it really hurt you if you're? I mean, she is more than average attractiveness or whatever. And does
Brian's
it really matter?
into her. If you can't
I
tell,
know.
Brian is
Well,
into her.
Physically, kind of, I would say yes, but I wouldn't say that I'm like obsessed with her or anything like that. But I wonder with most guys that are on that watch and follow for somebody that's kind of the villain, if it's one of the ladies, does it even matter to them? Because she's probably one of the more popular ones on social media. I'm just guessing.
You can't get the amount of hate she had to get and not feel a way about it.
Right.
Yeah, I think the internet is cruel, cruel, cruel. Even like Paul, when he said no at the altar, with Micah, I would, get your chart out,
Paul,
Brian.
yeah, I just had to take a look to see who the hell Paul was.
He's
Okay.
the science guy with dark curly hair who seemed to me during the whole season that he was nice. And then at the end, he was very like unsure.
Right.
So he's a good example. I'd say for Arena, love was not blind, right? Like she thought she loved him until she saw him. For
Yeah.
Paul, I also think looks had something to play with this because he was hated on because he was so calculated. He got to the altar and he made a very, very calculated decision. And part of it was the shallowness. Part of it was the way she looked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Which you could have assessed all of this in conversation. Like you didn't discuss routines or preferences or values. Like you probably would have come up how much she spends on dyeing her hair, which I'm guessing is a lot of money, you know?
Speaking of you mentioned like the wedding day. I'm just curious if either of the two of you guys know, do they record the wedding, like them standing up there separately, like several times? Because there's no way. So as we're watching it on TV, as you're watching the episode, you're thinking they're going up there at the altar and neither one knows what's going to happen. And you're telling me you're in love with this person and you guys put yourself in this position with your significant others. You can't read that person's face and what's going to happen. Because it's all
They've been
drama,
together
right?
for 8 weeks.
I mean, it hasn't really been that long. And I think Paul is kind of like, I mean, just as an example, he's kind of like a stone cold face. Like I could not tell if he was going to say yes or no.
He was stoic. I had no idea.
But
leading up to it, his mom loving her so much. I was like,
that's what I'm saying. It's recorded.
Family telling him to say yes.
I think it's all B-roll that they do. I think they record them several times up there to make it look like, because there's no way that they're both of them are up there, all the couples, and they're giving a nice little talk to the other person, so that we're all the audience is like, ooh, what's he gonna do? What's she gonna do? And you can't. I just don't think that you can stand up there and lie to somebody like that. I just think the other person will be able to read you. So that's why I think that either they've got a ton of just B-roll of the people standing there in their wedding outfits, and then they splice it and cut it all together to make it look like it's all happening at one time. That I don't know. So I was just curious to see if you guys had heard anything.
I didn't look that up. I did hear or read that they do, which makes sense, edit out some of the more definitive language and then ask them questions very directly to get non-definitive answers. So on last season, the couple that loved each other a lot, who are still together, and a few of the couples on this season, I can't remember their name, but like Brett and Tiffany, as a for instance, who'd say it was pretty much a done deal. Everybody was pretty sure about it. But then you heard them questioning a little bit in moments. I think that is very heavily produced and edited, where like Brett was sure the whole time and sounded so definitive, and it was almost hard for them to get clips of him being unsure. And then Tiffany's hesitations that they over edited into it, he shared in the reunion, were about the fact that she had to move. And they never brought up her moving. So she was like stressed and anxious about moving and her job and her whatever. She was not stressed about marrying him per se.
Right.
She knew she was going to say yes. And so, and you'd hear, they'd say like, well, what if he says no? Or I'm guessing that's what they prompted. Because they're like, how are you feeling? She's like, I'm feeling pretty good. And then I think they were like, well, what if he says no? Well, what if? And she's like, oh, maybe I should be more uncertain.
And then she's like,
Yeah. And it's like, why are you? I think they kind of poke at that a little bit, ask them to speak in a vague way, ask them to not give a definitive answer.
Right. I'm sure there's plenty of coaching from producers, like to get a storyline.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to put a show like this on. So that's part of the production side that I can at least acknowledge a little bit, that there has to be some produced drama. But I do think for the most part, there are the majority of the couples you end up seeing at the end, they seem to work out fine. They're like legitimately.
The whole last season broke up.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say last season.
And the season before that.
Did they? Okay. Well, then I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, like no one's worked out fine except for one couple.
So it's all produced. It's all produced.
Well, no, they were together. I mean, couples were together for some time. didn't work out.
And then it just didn't work out. Something, and I don't want to forget about this, something Chelsea mentioned 10 minutes ago, in a sense that everybody is somewhat attractive physically on the show. Now, the whole premise of the show is Love is Blind, in a sense that you're matching and pairing people up before they see each other. So like it's this internal what's inside somebody. The problem I have with that, I will say, is the fact that everybody that I can remember on the show, they're all above average physically. So you're not going to get stuck with somebody completely below average. Mm-hmm. And I said this on the podcast last week, in a sense that I would love to, if it was truly Love is Blind, and I would love to see this type of game show, but where they actually have people that you see when you go to Walmart, when you go to Home Depot, actual people, to where, okay, let's put it on the table. Let's see if love is blind.
Yeah.
Because everybody, I would say most people you ask, they're going to say it's all about the insides, or the insides are more important than the outsides, which I think is bullshit. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
But you know that you're not going to get stuck with somebody that is below average, and everybody is somewhat fit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is, yeah. I will tell a quick story. When I was like 20, a friend of mine said, I had gone back to Alaska from school in Utah, and I was working up there trying to decide what to do. And she's like, hey, you should meet my friend. He's so cool. And I was like, oh, sure. Great. So we started talking long distance over the phone. Great guy. We had a lot in common. We had a lot of fun. So when I came to Utah that summer to visit her, I went to go meet him in person.
Yes. Keep going.
We were supposed to meet at a park. And I'm not kidding. I rolled up to the park and saw him, and I was like, it's not going to work out.
Arena'd.
She
pulled the arena.
Just like, first of all, I got mad at my friend. I was like,
I would too.
I was like, you should have told me what he looked like. He was.
Your friend let you down on that one. Am I right, Chelsea?
I don't know.
I think this is so. I think it depends on your needs in a love relationship. I require some version of intimacy and sex in a love relationship, right? I think a lot of people do. That's like the stereotypical view of love, is it involves intimacy, which doesn't need to be sex and sex. And so it's like, if that's the case, yeah, I think you need a physical attraction. I do know there are people who, like, to them, love doesn't need to require sex, and like that is what it is. I think that's more rare and like less common today. So then, yeah, I need a physical attraction if I'm expecting to have a sexual connection with this person.
So without answering our is love blind, because we're saving that to the very end.
Yes.
Can I get from the two of you, and Anna, I'm going to ask you first, if we're going to make this super simple as far as being attracted to somebody physically, and then being attracted to somebody, their insights, their brain, what they think, your ability to talk to them. Is one, I know Chelsea's going to get all over me on this one, because is one more important than the other to you, Anna, and then to Chelsea? The physical versus the insides of what the show is purporting to try to make us believe.
More important for what? More important for
in long
will
term,
I have sex with you, or more
relationship?
Long-term relationship.
Oh, please.
I mean, I will use my husband as an example. Like, he is different than any physically any guy I've ever dated. He has an excellent personality. He makes me laugh harder than anybody. He totally gets me. And even though he's different than other men that I had dated, I was like, you are the one for me. Like, for me, it was not all about physical attraction. It was probably like 50-50. I'm definitely attracted to him, but his personality is like my very favorite thing in the whole world.
So are you saying it's 50-50, or are you saying it's 60-40 insides versus being physically attracted to a person for a long-term relationship?
For me, it's still 50-50, I
50,
feel.
okay.
Like.
Okay.
Mhm.
Chelsea?
I'll go in there.
I mean, you could guess. You'll know my answer. I'm an easy 70-30, 70 insides, 30 outside. If I look at anyone long enough, they look weird to me. Like even the most attractive person, if you get close enough to their face, you're like, you got a weird face. Like what is going on with your face? Like anyone. So personality, but
Jesus.
personality includes a lot of things. Like it includes your style, your sense of fashion.
Yes.
It includes how you carry yourself, how you maintain yourself, how you care about your body, right? Like that to me is all part of personality, how you care about my body, how you interact with my body. Like that's all part of personality. And so, and like emotions. So
Right.
I'm like 70, maybe even 80 insides, if you will, 20-30 out. I'm not going to say I'm no out, but yeah. So like
So
potentially a pod situation with a bunch of attractive people could be a really easy win for me. Because if I find you attractive, now they're all attractive people.
Right. I mean, you aren't getting like the Walmart checkout.
that's
crew.
what I'm saying. It would be a much better show if you really had no idea. Like you match up so well on the insides with somebody. You're talking, for me like Star Wars, and we're talking science, space stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, she is awesome. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, fuck, I just went to Home Depot today. And then I was at Walmart the other day, and I was like, if it's one of those people that I saw, would I be okay with it? And I would love to say
Right.
insides are important, and they are. But
The most pretentious I've ever heard you, by the way, if I went to Walmart or Home Depot and had to pick a random person out of that crowd,
what other store am I gonna
how much
make an
how much
example?
does the wine cost you're drinking right now, Brian? Because it sounds like it's like $1,000 bottle of
Yeah,
wine.
well, my no wine tonight, but yeah, my wine's $15 per box that I have. But that's the thing that I think there's a safety net for these people on the show Love is Blind, in a sense that they could fall in love with somebody in the pods, not
But
know
you have
what
to
they
answer
look
the
like.
question, dodging the question.
No, I'll answer it. I got to think it's 60-40 for me. I have to find the person that I match up with on the insides of the ones that I am physically attracted to. I can't go the other way.
Yeah.
There's
I mean, and I love the comments here. Like Amanda's saying like 70% outside, 30% inside. I think it's great. Like if you know
Amanda and I were soulmates, that's why. Probably
So
not kidding.
Amanda's saying like her preference for a long-term relationship is that she has to be way more physically attracted to somebody that registers a little bit more than somebody on the than maybe what they're on the inside. Like you can overlook a few more things on the inside. Like maybe he uses peat moss for the gardeners or something, to where you're like, oh, I can't believe he uses peat moss, but he's hot.
Oh, that's a deal breaker, but he's got a 6-pack.
Yeah. Or like
Brian's
in Anna's
latest
case,
favorite.
like her guy,
honesty.
goes to Walmart and buys Smucker's jelly instead of like eating the jelly that she makes. So I think for me, it's the physical part weighs a little bit more, and then when you throw in long-term relationship, it has to be somebody. I just think you have to be physically attracted to somebody.
For sure. For sure. I mean, I think it's hard to be intimate with somebody if you're not physically attracted to them. That can be difficult sometimes.
Although I will say I know more women that would say that they can go the other way more than guys would. I think guys are more stuck on the physical part.
Oh, it's like the other way where? Which way, Brian?
Because if you think about the couples that you guys know, physically how they match up, I'm just kind of curious. Do you think most of the people that you guys know match up really well physically? Because most of the people that I know, like within the hockey community,
assuming is some sort of objective standard, which is so interesting
it's my
to
standard.
me. Because Anna and I think Irina, like, not so much our type. Brian's like loving her. He's like
What?
all about her. I'm like, Zach is kind of cute. He looks like the nerdy Seth Cohen type, and we're in agreement. And Brian's like, Irina's so hot. She's so out of his field. And it's hilarious. There's no objective standard of beauty.
I did say she's more towards like the darker look that I like. Her particular look, I'm not crazy about. Like she did really nothing for me, but there are certain physical traits that she has that I tend to raise an eyebrow towards.
Sure.
So,
I mean, last season, Brian, you said that you liked.
Last season was a good one for me with all the dark-headed ladies there. Like I was like, my wife was like, oh.
She's Latina. I'm trying to think of what her name is.
Oh, I know your timeout.
She was with Bartise.
Yes, she's gorgeous. Nancy.
Nancy. Oh, I had the hots for Nancy.
Yes.
Everyone had the hots for Nancy.
She was so great.
Except Bartise.
Oh
Except for Bartise.
who I
There's
think
no
is just
objective standard of beauty. Bartise thought he was way out of her league. Everyone else disagreed with him.
I think Bartise is like such a douchebag. Whatever definition
because of his
a douchebag,
insides.
He drives me nuts with nothing in his bag.
But she was I thought she was physically like so hot and cute, and then she had like, I mean, she was kind of a badass too, and I'm like, oh my god, she checks everything for me.
She's a baller, like boss, running stuff. Yeah.
So like last year was great for me. Like I wasn't even on my phone watching the show.
How was it great watching the stuff he said to her and watching him hurt her confidence? I wanted to reach the TV.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Punch him.
Me too. Yeah. But then it switched for me this year. I wasn't really attracted to anybody, but my wife for some reason liked Zach a little bit, which again, I just thought there's something just off with this guy.
Seth Cohen. It's a Seth Cohen thing.
Yeah,
it's OC days.
I don't know about that.
Listen, he wasn't my vibe. Like, listen, we had Brett on this season. Whew. Come on. Boy's a baller, runs life, and he's also gorgeous, and he's so caring and thoughtful. I was like, yes, Brett. Hi, I will move to Portland.
This is my first season that I actually liked some of the guys on the show. Every other season, and I'm just kind of curious what you guys think. Every other season, my issue with the guys are they're so passive and just passive, weak, jealous, like super immature. Like everything bothered them. They couldn't see like their girls talking to anybody else or whatever. This year, is the first time by the end I was like, I mean, I like Kwame, and I like I'm looking at our thing, Brett.
You liked Kwame?
Yeah. I liked Kwame. I thought he was great. I hated Chelsea. I thought she was just like so obnoxious.
Like you still hate you don't like her even now, or you just
I don't know. She's
came around
fine.
on her.
I just think like she was really unaware of like, and this is editing, I don't really know, but she seemed like she was really unaware that Kwame was struggling to like move, and she was just like, everything's great, it's fine.
Yeah, that was, I can't imagine it was that bad. I only liked Kwame in the first episode and in the reunion when he apologized. But it's like, if you watch the clips, dude, you went through the whole season talking about Micah, talking to Micah behind your fiance, soon-to-be wife's back. I was not pleased.
He owned up to it at the end.
I loved it. And he should apologize to our family, apologize to everyone. Yeah. Like, you just married a woman who was so clearly your second choice based on editing, but like they were editing stuff you said. Mike and I just connect on a deeper level. And if he was also saying, so do Chelsea and I, and they edited that out, fine. Stop talking about Micah.
Yeah.
It's funny how Amanda was like binging as much as she could just so she can do our live, and she's on season 1. I don't even remember who Cameron was. But.
Cameron, I feel like was a robot. He was like an AI version of a white man.
Wait, that's so right.
And then I love this comment here, because Bucky wears your Mountain Men costumes. Bucky is
That's what I'm talking about. That's my man.
For anyone watching, is there anything else we need to cover to determine is love blind? Because we're going to answer the question soon.
Yeah, no, we're going to have to, because we're cutting off in 15 minutes.
So
what were who were your guys' favorites then this year?
Brett and Tiffany for sure.
Oh, hands down.
Let's see here, Brett and Tiffany.
I liked
Brett and
Marshall. I felt bad for Marshall.
Yeah.
Do you guys like Marshall? Chelsea, you like Marshall?
I mean, I wasn't like into him personally, but I wanted him to win.
Like who was the guy that was it Josh then?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was between Marshall and Josh. Like I hated Josh and I hate his kind of personality type, but Marshall I thought was a little soft too.
Soft.
Just soft and just like a pushover and just not a very strong. I don't know.
I don't know if he was a pushover. Like the few times that she was really rude to him, at one point he left for 3 days.
Yeah. No.
You know, like he was like, no, I'm not putting up with this. I think that was partially. I didn't mind Josh. Josh was like, I know what I want. I don't care about this show. Screw it. I'm going to get my girl. Like I was kind of into that, to be honest.
So he's the type of guy that I know, like in real life, that I just don't get along with. Josh, which is why when he came on and just when he was talking, because he was actively putting Marshall down, which I think that's kind of a weak move also. But I think he's more of this type A personality that I hate.
I'm gonna say something shocking. I liked Paul.
I like
because he was being very logical and very analytical, but you are not making a romantic infatuation decision. If you believe marriage is a lifetime monogamous commitment, you are making a huge decision here. And I felt he was one of the few people who took it like very, very seriously on camera and really went through all of the options and was like, yes, I clearly love her, whatever he meant by that word. And like, I'm infatuated by her and find her attractive and want to be with her and enjoy spending time with her. But is she my wife? And I was like, that's the right question that no one else seems to be asking themselves.
Yeah.
Anna, was there a female that you liked this season, or which female was your favorite?
I mean, I like Bliss.
I did too.
She was like, she stood up against her parents when they were, especially her dad was being a total douche.
He was kind of I didn't like her dad. And do you think that she's a good match with Zach?
No.
Brian hates Zach just because his wife likes Zach.
Hold on. I don't. Well, it doesn't bother. Although my wife, we're laying in bed watching this. She kept, oh my god, he is kind of cute. I'm like, are you fucking crazy?
It totally bothered you.
It only bothered me because I'm just like, there's just something weird about him. Usually guys, it doesn't bother me. Like she could be like, these guys are so hot. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But so Anna's a no for Bliss and Zach, right?
Well, I just think they're kind of a funky pairing, but I mean, whatever. I sew historical costuming. Like I don't get to decide what's weird.
And you smelt too. You smelt metal.
Sometimes I do.
And Chelsea, you're a Bliss and Zach ship that couple?
Do you stand that?
I don't think we got to see enough of them. I think there must have been more going on than we got to see in final editing or production or recording or whatever. And it left me just being confused. Like, what? Are you sure? I don't think either of you are into this. I guess you're into this. And then watching her family say the same thing, which I loved her dad. Heck yeah. If I was a parent,
her dad?
Yeah, if I'm a parent to a kid and they come on this show and they sit down with me and be like, this isn't real. You don't love each other. You need to figure this out. That would have absolutely been my response. I wouldn't have been like, oh, it's so romantic that you met 2 weeks ago. He engaged to someone else and then he left her and then he proposed to you and now you think he's your husband. I would not be game for that. I would totally be like, Zach, I think you're an asshole. I loved it.
I get that. I get what you're saying, but he didn't have an off button. It was every single time. And again, it could be editing. But
one of your sons goes on this show and comes to you with a woman and says the same thing. You would have done it too. I would have been like,
oh, I would be terrible. I'd be the parent everybody hated also.
Yeah, you should be. Protect your kids.
I'd be like, enjoy that mistake.
But so
And
the
that's
two of you, if you were in Bliss's position
yeah.
to where he chose somebody else
Never.
and then that completely fell apart, you're going to take him back?
Absolutely
You're
not.
the second choice.
Hard no.
Oof.
No matter how romantic you want to make this between Bliss and Zach, you're Zach's second choice.
I don't know. I mean, if I knew Irina in the house and knew that it was going to be a mistake, maybe.
There's something like falling down in my house. I don't know what's going on.
Uh-oh.
Your wife's mad you're talking badly about Zach.
Yeah, it might be, but I'm like, my dogs are going crazy, and it sounded like something fell off the house.
It's not a good sign.
I forgot what I said. Okay, so Chelsea, how we doing on time?
We got to answer the question.
What was the question?
Is love blind?
Oh, we're at the final question already?
Yeah, that's how time works.
Well, let's have our special guest, Anna.
I don't
And
think
What's the breakdown of
Answer
is
with a
love
Y.
blind?
Yeah.
Is love blind in real life? Correct, Chelsea? Is that the right way to phrase it? Is love blind in real life?
Yeah.
Okay.
for me the answer is no, both from personal experience and from watching it on this show. I don't think that you can. Well, actually, that's not true. I mean, plenty of people married at first sight, like, have it work out, right? I just, in this day and age, I don't think love is blind.
But married at first sight's another one to where you're not getting paired up with somebody that you're seeing at Walmart and Home Depot, like a roulette wheel of people. It's just there's a safety net, and when you know you're not getting paired up with somebody that physically is so unappealing to you, that's my only issue with the shows. Or else nobody would watch it. People want to watch attractive people.
Yeah.
So Chelsea?
I remembered my actual favorite love reality show, which is Indian matchmaking, which is going to help you understand my answer, which in my opinion is love blind. My actual answer is it can be. Because I think infatuation can absolutely be blind. I think connecting with someone, etc., can totally be blind. And then love, in my definition, is a commitment to the other person. And arranged marriages are still the prevailing version of marriage in the world. Like the majority of people in the world statistically still get married via arranged marriages where they may or may not ever see their spouse. And I think love can be blind because it's commitment. It's saying, I'm going to commit as a partner to you for the rest of our lives in whatever else commitments you're making in your marriage, regardless of any of these other factors. And eventually I'm going to grow these other factors. So I think love can be blind. Yes. I don't think the show sets it up for that at all, but I think love can be blind.
And then for you and for your personal sense, is love blind for you?
I'm totally in the commitment place and I'm fully committed to my husband. So like if I think about different things that could occur, it's like, would I stay committed to him if he didn't look the way he does now? Absolutely. So I think love can definitely be blind. I think you build a strong enough partnership, relationship, intimacy with that person. If it's not initially love, it can lead to love because love is not the fun, beautiful stuff. Love is when I'm sick and you're bringing me Robitussin. And there's nothing about me the last 2 weeks, which is like, hey, let's get it on, right? And he's there. And that is the love piece. Like when I have been at my worst, had a baby with this man, the stuff that goes around childbirth, and he still wants to have sex with me. Love is blind, people. Blind.
Chelsea makes it sound so.
I'm just saying, like anyone I know who is in a short relationship and then they get pregnant, they're like, I just really want to make sure we keep our intimacy and he doesn't see anything that's too gross. I'm like, girlfriend, he's going to watch you shit when that baby comes out. So you just got to let that go.
Man.
Love's blind.
Wow.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I What did you say, Anna? I'm just trying.
Well,
Chelsea threw me for a loop there. I'm thinking, okay, this makes sense that she calls whatever this pleasure machine that sits next to her in bed in her drawer the pleasure machine. So love would be blind. But what did Anna? What did you say? Love is blind in your opinion, or not?
well, I think it depends on the situation. Like for me personally, love was not blind when I was 20 and I met somebody that I had been talking to on the phone. Um, but obviously, like Chelsea said, like Indian matchmaking has been going on for centuries and it works for them. But I still think in this day and age, Love is Blind is like really difficult. Um,
Going off of what you just said and what Chelsea said, and the Indian matchmaking, which I've seen that and I've been tempted to watch it. Um, I I don't know. Even though a large proportion of people around the world do that, what choice do the women have, anyways? So how do we know? They're stuck. That's part of their culture. They have no other. I don't know if we can necessarily say, okay, well, love is blind because that's been happening for hundreds or thousands, however many years. They have no option. They're told that you have to do that.
It's a broad generalization
Yeah.
that I don't think you want to make, to be fair. And you're speaking to someone who is like women's rights all day. I'm wearing a women's rights hoodie right now. But I think that's a very, very broad generalization that like we'd have to get too specific to like dissect. Largely because women don't have the same rights as men. Yeah, that causes problems with arranged marriages. I'll hear that out.
Well, but we're saying, if I understand, and like I think our last episode, Chelsea and I were like, Chelsea said something, and I don't know if I comprehended what she was saying, but I just want to make sure, like on the arranged marriage stuff, if we're using that as a indication that love is blind because that goes on for a large portion of the population. If that population of females, they have no choice. So just because it's
on
going
the show is like
modern
modern
show.
American.
I have no idea. The show.
The show is like
the show.
Modern American millennials who are also Indian finding their love through a matchmaker. So, and yeah, I'd say I am more with Amanda's camp, like my original belief and kind of what I was sharing with like childbirth and your husband still. And like, you know, I talked about this. My husband had pink eye. His eye looked real gross. I wasn't gonna be like, I don't love you anymore, babe. That's disgusting. Right. I was like, that is disgusting. And I love you. So I definitely think for a relationship to last and like for full commitment to happen, love does become blind in a lot of ways. Cause like my attraction stays regardless of how our bodies change and how things about us change. Like men and women lose their hair, like women grow facial hair. Like think about the things you know about hormonal changes and how they impact you, and you still love the person you're with. So that's my argument. I do think love can be blind from the beginning as well, because I do think infatuation can be blind. Didn't work for Anna, but hypothetically, which good for your husband, you could meet someone virtually. And I'm ranting. Brian, you have to answer the question because I don't have tons of time.
I know, but I do remember this story that Anna I had Anna on the podcast before back in October, and she had mentioned this story, and it reminded me that I think I said I would love to try to track this guy down because I want to hear his story of going to the park and standing there waiting for Anna, and then like, what the hell?
And then it's just nothing but a breeze.
Yeah, it's just there's just like this shadow in the background just taking off in a car, and the car screeches out of the parking lot. But I think, and kind of goes off of what Amanda was saying a little bit there, and you guys brought some of this up. Love becomes blinder when you're already in a relationship over time. I get that, and I accept that. You're absolutely right. Now, Chelsea, if your husband showed up on your first date with pink eye, I don't know. I mean, I think that would have more, you know what I'm saying? I think that's more of a...
People fell in love with masks on during COVID. My friend did it. He did not see this woman's mouth.
I know you've been worried about getting pink eye the last couple of weeks. You've seen pink eye on people. I mean, have you been on a date with somebody with pink eye?
I mean, I
And that
can
doesn't
imagine
turn you
people
off?
going to, like, someone has a black eye because they got in a fight, they show up on a date. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think I came up with several examples where I was highly unattractive and still loved me. Would that have really? Okay, Brian, you have to answer because I have to
Love is
run. Y'all should
not
keep talking.
blind. I'm saying that just from my personal. You have to have some vision at the beginning when you're getting matched up. But I change. It evolves and changes as your relationship gets going longer, and the more you're together, you become blind to a lot of things that it just doesn't affect you. I get that. But at the beginning, when you're choosing, when you get the ability to choose, I don't think love is blind at all. And I think it it focuses on the physical a lot more than the internal more often than not. At least with the guys. I'm just saying.
Definitive answer for straight men.
This is just an aside, but how long have you and your wife been married?
We got married in 98. So I can't do the math.
I got married in 2001. So we are on our 22nd year being married this December.
Yeah. So is my wife blind to a lot of things of love between us? Absolutely. She hates my beard. The second I grew my beard out, every person in my family hates my beard. So I keep it. And I force her to be blind to stay in love with me.
That's
all right. I know Chelsea has to go.
But y'all need to keep going. This is hilarious.
No. We need to keep them under an hour. This is going to be our second only episode where we're able to do that. But I think we did a good job with talking about the show and then bringing it into the overarching kind of questions. Is love blind? I say it's not. I say at the beginning it's very much a physical thing.
I think it can be.
Yeah.
And Anna?
I'm 50-50. I think it can, and I think it can also be a disaster, like this show.
Like this show.
We've had that mentioned several times. So Anna, just real quick, I've got a question for you.
Okay, I'm going to run.